Good morning, everyone. I woke up this morning to this man that his mother used to have a cooking show on YouTube, and I used to watch her all the time. Well, her son is in the Air Force, and he flies planes, and he comes on every once in a while and does a Bible study. And today he was in 1 Samuel 16 about King David and Saul, and how, when Saul, I don't know if y'all ever watched the movie, but King David, Saul was trying to kill King David, and King David was hiding in the caves and stuff. Well, Saul came in the cave, and this scripture right here, he said, "The Lord forbid that I should stretch forth my hand against the Lord's anointed. But I pray thee, take thou now the spear that is in his hand and curse of water, and let us go." So David took the spear and cursed the waters, and Saul's, I don't know what that word is, blonster, and they take them away, and that no man saw it nor knew it. Neither were awake, for they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from the Lord was fallen upon them. And God put them in a deep sleep. So King David did not kill him. He just took his spear, because he believed not to touch God's anointed, And that's a good chapter to read in 1 Samuel 26 about King David and Saul. But I really got a lot out of that this morning. I already knew about King David, and when I look back on it, he was saying there's a time for everything. And that was the name of his Bible study, A Time for Everything, because in Ecclesiastics, it talks about that. Let me get to Ecclesiastics. Let's see. He came out of Ecclesiastics chapter 8. I'll get to it. Ecclesiastes. Let's see. It's right before the Psalms. Job. Now, I can tell you something about Job. When my daughter died. Okay, it should be after the Psalms, yeah. After the Psalms. Ecclesiastes. Here it is. He came out of Ecclesiastics 7. There's one in Ecclesiastics 3 too. But, no, he came out of Ecclesiastics 8. Okay, here it is. Man, I don't think he came out of 8. I just saw the scripture he came from, but it was just 7, I think. Yeah. Ecclesiastes is about the wisdom of God. Here it is, 7. I discern, let's see. I just read it and now I can't find it. Passing through the street in the twilight, there met him a woman. Wait, that's not it. This is not it. I don't know where I was at. But anyway, he was talking about how there's a time for everything under the sun. I'll get to Ecclesiastes 3. That's where it talks about there's a time for everything. But he did come out of Ecclesiastes 7 or 8. Let me get 3. Proverbs. I don't know how I got. My late husband used to love the book of Proverbs. That's where he was always in, the book of Proverbs, and that's for wisdom too. Proverbs and Ecclesiastics. Here it is. Ecclesiastics. Let's see. I always love to read the book. I love to read the book of Ecclesiastics and the book of Proverbs. And Psalms mostly. My favorite book is the Psalms because I love all the Bible. Every book But the Psalms is really good when you're weak in your spirit, which I have been lately, I think, because we've been lost 2 brothers. Here it is. To everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up that which was planted, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a garden stones, and a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get, a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Where profit has he worked in that where he has labored? I have seen travail which God has given to the sons of men to exercise in it. Anyway, there's a time for everything. And he was talking about how one time his commander, he's in the military, called him in his office and he said there was a job at the Pentagon that he was thinking about that he thought was good for him. And he said, go home and talk it over with your wife and let me know, give me an answer. So him and his wife, they prayed about it a few days, and his wife said to him, you know, if you take this job, you're going to be working long hours, and you're not going to be home at all, and the baby is under a year old, so you will not be around the baby. And so him and his wife prayed about it, and so they decided he wouldn't take that job, and he would go back to school and get his master's degree. And when he did, he was home with the baby all the time. He was he went to school during school hours and was home like after 3:00, and so he was with the baby. And he said that was a good decision that he made. And when he looks back, he said, when I look back, there was two roads that I could have taken. I could have taken the road to work at the Pentagon, or I could take the road going back to school. And he said, now when I look at it, I think I took the best road. But he said God would have still been with me if I took the other road. But God, we have choices to make. And I was thinking about the time my husband, when he was in the Army, and he had his commander gave him orders either to go to Hawaii or to go to Belgium. And I told him, I said, I really don't want to go to Hawaii because we had 3 babies that were under 2, the twins and David. I said, I'd really rather go to Belgium, because we'll be around family and stuff. Hawaii is more like having fun and getting in the sun, and which I was really worried about the women, because I was going to be home with the babies and my husband would be out there, all them Hawaii women. That's what I was thinking about at the time. So he had a choice, either Hawaii or Belgium, and he picked Belgium because of me. And that's the same thing with this guy. He said it was more or less his wife that made the decision for him, because she didn't want him working at the Pentagon. And I can understand, because my husband worked at the Pentagon for 5 years, and he worked long hours. So I know it is a rough road to go, because I lived it. And my kids were all little when they were under 2 until we got the orders for Belgium. But there is decisions that we make. I remember, when I look back on time, and when my husband died, I was grieving really bad. I mean, I felt like my heart was ripped out of me. So I had 2 decisions to make. I could either stay home around my family or go to California, that this man that claimed to be a preacher told me to come because he would minister to me because I was hurting so bad. So I took the road of going to California for 2 years, and it to ruin my life. And instead, I should have stayed home to be around my family because they were grieving too. by the loss of their father. So I took the wrong road, So that's what this is more or less talking about. You can either take the right road or you could take the wrong road, but the Lord is still going to be with you and walk with you. He'll never leave you nor forsake you. But there's choices that we make in this life, and some of those choices are bad choices, and there's a price to pay. I had to pay a price because that man liked to destroy my life in California. So the Lord delivered me away from him, and I thank the Lord because he was very abusive, more mentally than physical. He was physically abusive, but not as bad as mentally. So, and it scarred me. And so I never ever remarried since my husband died. And I think it's because of this man, because it put a fear in me where I didn't ever want to be around another man. And I was a young woman. I was still in my 50s when my husband died. I was 53 when he died. So I could have remarried if I didn't have that fear, because I thought to myself, I don't ever want to be with another man like that, abusive. But my husband was he was the perfect husband. But he wasn't perfect, but he was far better than that man in California. So I made a bad choice, and so it affected my life. And that's what happens when we make the bad choice. It affects your life. And that's why it's good to pray about it before you do make a choice, a decision, what you're going to do. And another thing about my daughter when she died, what was it? The night before my daughter died, Laura. Laura had she had, the court said she had to pay this bill for $300 that she didn't feel like she had to pay it because something about some girl she tried to claim that Laura did this, and said that the court charged my daughter $500, and so she didn't pay it, and so she had to go to jail for 40 days, and the only way she could get out is for us to pay that fine, and all the family refused to pay it because I don't know at the time, but we felt at the time that it was best for her to be there because she had an addiction of pain pills. And so at the time, we all thought together it was best that she wasn't out there on the streets. So she told me, the night I went to get her, she told me that the Lord, at first she thought God put her in jail to punish her, but then after a while, this preacher used to come in all the time, and she heard the message about King David, and it might have been about the same story, I'm not sure, but she said that's when she realized that God had her in jail to save her life, and that God loved her, and that he just wanted what was best for her, and that's why she told me, the night I went to get her, the Lord was trying to tell me to take her back to my place. That's why I'm saying there's choices that we have to make in this life. And he was trying to tell me at the time, because my blood pressure was sky high that night. I remember I have to take blood pressure medicine, but it was sky high that night, and the Lord was speaking to me through that to take Laura back to my place. But I wasn't listening because the devil was in the other ear saying, if you take her back to your place, all them drug people are going to come to your place. And so I was listening to the devil instead of, I should have been listening to the Lord telling me to take her back to my place. And so I took her back to her apartment, which was the wrong decision because them people murdered my daughter, the drug dealers. And so I made the wrong decision that night, and I have to pay for it for the rest of my life. That my daughter could be alive today if I would have listened to God and not listened to that devil telling me not to take her back to my place. And so we have to be very careful And if God is speaking to you something, you listen to Him, because it could cost you your life or your children's life as a decision that you make. So anyway, it's been 15 minutes, and this really ministered to me this morning. This man that had this Bible study about King David, because the same thing I was thinking the whole time, it was what the Lord spoke to Laura in jail by that woman preacher coming in preaching about King David, and I was thinking maybe this was a story she was speaking to them in jail. Okay, God bless y'all, and remember to pray about every decision that you make, because it can affect your whole life. All right, love y'all. Bye.